Welcome back for another Friday Night In. We're tackling part 2 of the No-Face Man tonight. We last left off with young Davy feeling the wrath of the babysitters after their revenge plot was executed to perfection. At least, that's what they think. This is The No-Face Man, part 2. We deserved it, and so did Davy, that little shithead. After he'd given me a near heart attack at the bottom of the basement stairs, I'd made a promise to myself I'd find a way to get back at him. Then, it all seemed to come together and happen at once. I knew a girl, Kyla, at our high school who'd also sat for Davy. Once. I didn't know the details, but heard it was bad. And then my best friend, Sloozy, knew about a girl from another high school in town. It spiderwebbed out from there, and before we knew it, there were 9 of us plus Sloozy, and we had all kinds of talents. Sloozy, Kyla, and I were at Jefferson. Jess, Nina, Zoe, and Chelsea, who acted as Mallory, went to Pacific High. Jenna, Vaughn, and Nancy went to LeBreton High. Kyla and Jess knew each other from working at the same makeup shop in the mall. Sloozy knew Chelsea from theater camp. Nina and Zoe knew Vaughn and Nancy from sports, and Jenna knew them from school. And now we all knew each other because we all answered the same ad. Sloozy was the one to come up with the idea of sending one of us back in, but in disguise. From there, it snowballed, and in no time, all 10 of us met up after school and threw all of our ideas in the hat. Chelsea took the lead. She really wanted to creep Davy out with weird shit like the milk and toast. As a theater girl, she loved creating and performing, and she knew with a slight change in makeup and a wig, she could look like a completely different person. So she invented Mallory. Chelsea even took it upon herself to come up with the story of the No-Face Man. She told it to us, and we all thought it was a little dark, but liked it, and we catered everything to the idea. Jenna and Zoe turned out to be talented in sculpting and costumes, so they teamed up with Chelsea and Kyla in creating the look for the No-Face Man. Using a casted bust as a frame, they made a prosthetic face and layered it on top, adding scars and slime to create a disturbing abomination. Vaughn and Nancy found low-noise, industrial-strength smoke machines and strobe lights with red filters. They used speakers for the heavy breathing and sound effects that trailed behind the No-Face Man. We planned the project out for a full month. Then we created the posters and peppered Davy's neighborhood with them, using a burner phone Chelsea picked up. It didn't take long to get a bite, and we were ready when it came. From there, all it took was Chelsea leaving the back door unlocked in the kitchen when she was pouring her milk. As she led Davy upstairs, we entered and set up while she was telling him the legend. It all went perfectly. We deserved every bit of this celebration. We all slept well that night, like we'd accomplished something beyond our reach, and we had footage of that little brat pissing himself. So if he ended up in one of our sister's high schools and was anything other than a gentleman, we'd unleash the piss tape on their school. Some of the girls wanted to put it online anyway to embarrass Davy forever, starting now, but we voted against it. This was enough. For now. One of the unforeseen joys of the whole project was meeting and making friends with the other girls. We each had our own horror stories about dealing with the little punk, and now we had a group story getting back at him. For something so negative, it was an incredible bonding experience and cathartic for our traumas. Then, the next morning happened. Chelsea was contacted by the police. Of course, the police thought they were calling Mallory because they got the phone number for the burner from Annie and Paul, and Chelsea hadn't shut the account down. Davy had disappeared overnight. His parents were frantic when he wasn't in bed in the morning, and there was no sign of him leaving. Outside of Annie and Paul, Mallory was the last person to see Davy. So now they were talking to Chelsea, who lied and said Mallory was her middle name. The police even came by the school to speak to her, but she kept quiet and mentioned nothing of the prank we pulled on him. I told Chelsea to keep quiet and not tell the other girls, but she already had. So we decided to get the group to meet in the back parking lot of Jefferson again. Everyone came, and the reactions ranged from good riddance to we need to come clean to the police, and everywhere in between. But Nina, she was different. She thought the No-Face Man might be responsible. We all laughed at the idea and reminded her that it was a made-up character, fabricated into existence by the fantastically creative Chelsea. But Chelsea was scarily quiet now. She looked worse than anxious. She looked guilty. We coaxed a response from her, and she said something that made the temperature outside drop. Chelsea didn't make up the story. The No-Face Man wasn't a fabrication. While she was scouring the internet for inspiration for urban legends, Chelsea came across a forum on the deep web that listed what were claimed to be actual, real, supernatural myths and fables. The No-Face Man was the only one that came with a warning. It was so frightening, the only thing Chelsea did make up was that it happened in our town. The rest she memorized and told it as is. The group went quiet. No one knew what to say. I noticed Kyla and Jenna edging towards Nina, bonded by a new, shared fear. But that was stupid. For all we knew, Davey had somehow discovered we'd played a prank on him and was trying to get revenge. Even though a police investigation was now underway, we had no idea the lengths Davey would go to get back at us. But then there was the question of how. How would he have found out it was all just a trick by us? And so quickly. We decided to meet back up tomorrow. There was nothing we could do by going to the police now, least of all telling them about the urban legend. So we agreed not to do or say anything about the prank until another day passed. After all, maybe Davey would pop back up, hoping he got us all back. But the next morning, Davey was still missing. And by lunch, something more unnerving had occurred. Chelsea, Nina, Kyla, and Jenna all disappeared overnight. Police came to all 3 of the schools, interviewing their friends and classmates, trying to find any details of where they could have gone or what could have happened. When I heard it was them, a new chill found its way into my bones. They were the 4 who seemed to believe the No-Face Man story was real. And now, it seemed like everyone else in the group was leaning in that direction too. I couldn't let my head go there, but knew Sloozy and the others were slipping. The idea that Davey was pranking us back and had gotten the 4 missing girls involved was almost less likely than the legend itself being true, but that couldn't be right. I couldn't believe that. Our town was going into a strict curfew that night because of the 4 missing girls and Davey. We all wanted to be together, but had to stay in separately. I could tell from the group chat the other girls were scared. I spent the night scouring the internet on my cell for any details of the No-Face Man, but only found one forum. It started from an anonymous poster who claimed the urban legend was real, and the No-Face Man had taken his girlfriend and was using her face to try to trick him. The poster spoke of the overwhelming scent of incense that manifested the last time he saw her. Other commenters posted their stories of hearing the legend. One of them explained how the No-Face Man just needs one person to believe in him. Then, he's in our world, and once he's here, it's almost impossible for people to see him and not believe in him. The only way to send him back to whatever unholy realm he waited in was to renounce him, because the opposite of belief is denial. But how do you deny something that you can see? I was starting to creep myself out and put my cell away, but then the group chat lit up again. Chelsea texted us, or at least someone did from her phone, but the text said it was her. It said to come to the parking lot at Jefferson. Davey was there too, and Nina, Kyla, and Jenna. I called Chelsea right away and heard her voice come over the other end. It was her. It was our friend. I asked her where she'd been, but she said for me to just come to the school and they'd explain it there. I started a new group chat, this one without Chelsea, and asked what the girls thought. They all believed the text. Nancy was the first one to say she was driving there now. She could pick up Jess, Vaughn, and Zoe. I texted Sloozy separately, saying I didn't want to go, but she pushed, and I relented. I wished I hadn't spent the night reading what I had. I snuck out and let my car float down the driveway in neutral before turning it on and going to pick up Sloozy. I asked her what she thought, really thought, about all this. She said she was shocked, but so relieved to find out everything was okay. She confessed, embarrassingly, that she believed the myth. She thought it was the No-Face Man that was responsible. I wanted to laugh, to question her sanity, but I kept quiet and drove on to the school. Nancy was parked at the back of the school where we met after Davies. Vaughn and Zoe were with her, but there were no other cars. I parked beside Nancy's dad's van, and we all waited for Chelsea to arrive. I tried to call her cell again, but she didn't answer this time. We didn't know what to do. Suddenly, the back door of the school swung open, hammering against the wall. We all screamed and turned to see Chelsea smiling back out at us. "Come on in, losers," she yelled before disappearing back into the school. We hurried to the door and caught it before it closed. It led into the gymnasium, which was empty. At the far end of the gym, near the main entrance, Kyla waved at us, then rushed off down the hall. Nancy led us on the chase after Kyla, but she was gone from the hallway when we got there. We roamed the hall in the direction Kyla went, and saw Davey in the stairwell down. He was smiling his little mischievous smile. Then he ducked down behind the railing and descended the stairs. His laugh echoed up to us. Nancy pushed on, leading us downstairs. I was trailing at the back of the group. None of this felt right. All I could think about was what I'd read about the No-Face Man taking people's forms once it had their face. If that was true, could it be leading us to our deaths? I knew that was silly. There must be a logical explanation for all of this. In the school basement, there was no sign of anyone. We moved through the large storage and equipment rooms. then the boiler room. But nothing. Then an overwhelming smell took over. It was incense, stale and rotten. The lights flicked out overhead. 5 sets of lungs erupted in shrieks in the darkness. Panicked shuffling and tripping and screams. 4 cell phone lights came on, including mine. Nancy was gone. I grabbed Susie's hand and pulled her back towards the stairs. It was a long sprint back, bumping into pillars, storage containers, and sports equipment. The other cell lights behind us disappeared. I kept repeating in my head, "Don't believe it. It's not real. They're all playing a joke on you." Sloozy's hand was ripped from mine. I whipped back to try to find her, and for a moment, I saw something that turned my blood to ice. It looked like a man, at least the shape of one, but his body had been stripped of skin. He had Sloozy in his hands, and then they were both gone, evaporated into the darkness. I turned and kept running, halfway back to the stairs. Chelsea was laughing somewhere behind me, then Jess, then Nancy, Kyla, Zoe, Nina, Vaughn, Jenna, Davy. They were all laughing at me, but I refused to believe it. Even then, after seeing what looked like the no-face man, I denied it, and I ran. I got to the stairs, made it down the hallway, and out into the gym. I could hear it all following me, getting closer as the darkness of the gym enveloped me. I could see the glowing red exit sign at the far end. I just needed to get there. The voices behind me got closer and were yelling for me to turn around. They were saying it was all just a great big joke, and for me to calm down. But I kept running and got to the exit. I ran outside and got in my car, looking back only once while getting it started. I watched the gym door slowly close, and none of the girls came running out. I put my car in gear and fixed the mirror, and realized I wasn't alone. Sloozy was in the back seat. She was sitting up, staring at the mirror and right into my eyes. I knew it wasn't her, but I didn't believe it. I couldn't. I had to reject it, deny it until it disappeared. Sloozy's face morphed into Kyla's, staring back at me the same way. Kyla changed into Chelsea, Nina, Jess, Zoe, Vaughn, Nancy, Jenna, then Davy. He was sad. His expression was pained and betrayed.
"It's your fault I'm gone,"
he said.
"You made this all happen. My parents will never see me again. No one will. It'll be like I never existed."
Davy changed into Chelsea, then flashed back through all the girls before landing on Sloozy again. But she was in the front seat now, and her face morphed into the no-face man's. I couldn't deny it anymore. He was right there beside me, and my denial crumbled. I felt an impossible pain streak across my face, and the world went dark. I came to and was sitting in the pews of an old church. I looked around to see I was surrounded by the girls. Every one of them was here. There were also 13 children and various other sets of people in small groups. Every one of their faces had been removed, cut around the edges with shaky precision. I reached up to my own and felt the wet, exposed muscle where my cheeks should be. My nose, my lips, and forehead. It was all gone. I was just another one of his faces now. And that brings our urban legend horror to a close. We hope you enjoyed the last 2 weeks with Scarlet, Sloozy, and the No-Face Man. And we'll see you back here next week as we explore a road trip horror story.